welcome to this episode of Scale as
Motherfucking needed.
What?
Yeah.
Where tired is enough.
Tired is enough.
Tired is what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Tired is because it is enough.
Yes. The question of the day is: did anything CrossFit related happen since we recorded our last
Actually,
podcast?
there hasn't been any fitness.
No movement in the world of fitness.
No movement in the world of fitness. So,
Rick and Morty?
right?
We're just joshing you guys.
all right.
The
Arm and Hammer,
CrossFit-
Kyle Bogart,
Yeah.
Cliff Bogart, Dale Callbacher.
They know who we are.
They know who we are.
And
Handsome
here we
Chase.
are. Handsome Chase.
Handsome
Chase on the
Chase.
Handsome Cam, beaming in from Cincinnati.
The
CrossFit
2017
Games.
CrossFit Games are done and over.
You were
with,
there.
guys. And I was fucking there
in the cheese state.
How was that experience of being physically
Man,
there?
okay, so there's a lot to talk about.
Tell me about it. Madison, Wisconsin.
Madison,
Paint a picture.
Wisconsin. Here's
Why
the deal.
didn't they use real cheese is my primary question.
We were way closer on that than we thought.
Yeah.
When we were joking about them carrying around cheese, then they ended up carrying around yellow square sandbags called cheese curds.
I think I know why, by the way.
Because they listen to the podcast.
No, but I know why they didn't use real cheese. They didn't use real cheese because if you want a 100-pound wheel of cheese there, even from cheap-ass cheese, that's going to cost you pretty close to $1,000.
Holy shit.
And if you're going to be dumping that shit and making it inedible,
Yeah.
it's like really, that's way too expensive.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
much easier to just make a yellow sandbag.
Yes.
Also,
Exactly.
it would have been silly.
Yes.
It would have been very silly.
It already
Which
was
is an
silly.
argument
It's how they were
for-
jumping over motherfucking hay.
This is true.
Apparently, by the way,
The
that
hay
was
was
straw
hay.
and not hay.
Yeah, it's very important.
And
The
the
difference
thing,
being-
though, is I have no fucking idea what the difference is.
I do know this. The key, apparently, to winning those events, because it was the case with a couple heats with the men, the key to winning is to be going over the hay shirtless.
Right.
The shirtless competitors were the ones who were way ahead.
According to Chase Ingram,
Mm-hmm.
who was commentating,
Yeah.
who's commentating I actually generally enjoyed, the key to winning the Madison triplet, which is that hay bale event, was to race the run and then race the burpees. And so the old adage of go fast and
On everything?
don't slow down still applies
Interesting.
even at the CrossFit Games. So if someone asks you and you're at the gym, what's the strategy on this workout? The answer is always
Go fast.
Go fast,
Go fast.
don't slow down.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it takes. Just
I
go
try-
fast, don't slow down.
I'm going to try and incorporate that slowly into my strategy in the gym. See
Simple concept.
Yeah.
It is a simple concept, but I think it really is the key to Matt Frazier's success. The thing that makes Matt Frazier
I
so
did notice
fit
him doing that.
is he
several
tends to
times.
go fast and not
True.
slow down.
Yes.
And
Except
therefore,
for-
he ends up ahead of
Except
people.
for at a crucial moment where he did slow down intentionally and for understandable reasons in that final event.
Yeah, about $200,000.
When all he had to do in that final event was not get injured for those first two rounds, and
Yeah.
you saw him going very slow
Very
and carefully.
slowly.
Yeah.
If he had flipped upside down and suddenly dislocated his elbow on one of those handstand push-ups, like shit, that's all done. It's like very slow and controlled for those first two
Yeah.
rounds to get the minimum work requirement done, and now it's all good.
You know
Yeah.
what's really fascinating to me about that workout is Matt Frazier has locked up the CrossFit Games. He needs to only complete a round of 8 handstand push-ups, 8 deadlifts, and then it was 5, 5, 8,
Yeah,
8.
yeah.
That's all he had
Yeah.
to do to lock it up to get the minimum work requirement. And he is understandably going very slow. I mean,
Yeah.
much slower than he is capable of going.
Yep.
And he still finished first in that heat.
Yep.
He,
Sure did.
there's a point, actually, I don't know if you guys had watched it, but there's a point where he ends up going to his deadlifts and then finishing his deadlifts and getting to the lunges, the kettlebells
yeah.
for lunges, and he looks around and no one else is at their kettlebells for
Yeah,
their
yeah,
lunges.
yeah.
And he's like, are you fucking kidding me, guys? I'm not trying, and this is the best you can fucking
Yeah.
do? What a joke. You could see him thinking, you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal your lunch money for years to come.
And then he took some time in the middle of the workout. I thought it was a bit, unnecessary that he just went around pantsing the other guys in the middle of the workout, then
Yeah.
returning to his lane.
It was a little over the top when he took a shit in Ricky Garrard's lane,
Yes,
but
that's
you know.
right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Madison, you know, I feel like if there's one thing that I know that I can claim is time in this sport.
Yes.
And I don't know very many other people who've done what I've done.
No.
Which is I've gone to the CrossFit Games at the ranch, at Carson, and in Madison.
There is a very select few of people.
That's a very small group of people.
You're the inner circle of the inner circle.
Yeah, I've been at the CrossFit Games 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I've been 8 years in a row. I've been at the CrossFit Games.
Give it a rest already, Armin.
Yeah.
Make some
too
room
much
for the other people.
Too much. I think that Madison overall was a fantastic venue.
Yeah.
I think overall it has a ton of potential. So I think 19 and 20 are going to be really incredible years for the competition.
Awesome.
That said, they had some major issues.
Yeah.
Things that they can solve pretty easily, but just major issues nonetheless. Like, first of all, from a live spectator's point of view, unless you're going there to, like, spend money in the vendor village, there's no fucking reason to, like, buy just a festival pass. Because you go, and for the first, like, 2 days, so, like, the first day was the run, swim, run, and cyclocross. There's nothing to watch.
Yeah.
You go to you go there. You wait in line in the rain to get in, and then there's no action. Like, the only way to watch it is to go stand in the beer garden where they're projecting it on the TV with no audio.
Gotcha.
And like, or they're projecting like the masters competition or the teen competition. So it's kind of like a toss up of what you're even gonna get to watch.
Yeah, might be fun to like throw in. I mean, this would just add more of a logistical burden, but bring in some kind of exhibition competitions to entertain people in the first day, like a strongman contest or something.
Yeah.
Or a little lifting competition or something going on.
We have somebody that actually listened to our Reebok Pick'em advice.
Yeah.
And they're currently sitting in second place.
Whoa!
What?
Whoa! No way!
Really?
Yeah. Elias Wheeler.
You son of a bitch!
I have no idea where they're from.
I'm
they're
owed.
currently in second.
He's in second, like worldwide.
Yes.
Oh my God! That's the best prize. That's the year of free Whole Foods. That's the best prize. Holy shit, dude!
Can I get Topo Chicos? Just like a bunch of Topo Chicos?
That's amazing. You know what? I would offer to send you something, but you've already gotten a better gift than anything. No prize that I can provide you, used shoes
That's
or
right.
otherwise.
Lifetime free.
No, 1 year.
One
year
year.
of Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Anything you want.
This a
All right, so I'm watching.
Hold on a second. If he can get anything he wants from Whole Foods for a year and is based on our Pick'em advice, he needs to load up on some expensive dried meats and ship them over here.
So hang on.
And cheese.
Guys,
Here's the
update.
bad thing. Update. The dude lives in Alaska where there's no Whole Foods.
That is garbage. That's like the most Twilight Zone fucking. I'm the last man on Earth. I can finally read all the books that I want to read. My glasses.
Well, maybe I can go to the large print section, but my eyeballs.
But there was time now.
Well,
Burgess Meredith.
That's
So that means he's
fantastic.
going to have to blow it all out in one special trip to the real United States, to the continental United States.
I imagine they're going to provide
to
him
the other United States, to a Whole Foods, load
There's
up
gotta
a
be
fucking
one in
truck
Vancouver.
and ship us some quality dried meats.
I guess they're just going to provide him with a check.
Yes.
My guess is they're just going to give him a check. Well, either way, congratulations, man.
Seriously. Yeah.
That is really impressive.
Yes.
I was ranked almost 11,000. so just
Wait,
to
how
give you
did
an
he
idea.
listen to your advice, but then
Our
get
advice.
second?
He did the
Collectively.
opposite.
He listened way better than I did, apparently. But yeah, so from like a spectator perspective, live, the games were kind of challenging to really follow. And some people were like, oh, I had a really easy time watching it. And I was like, well, you're fucking lying, because the cyclocross event, you kind of pick a corner and it's like F1. They just like zoom by.
But it would be fun to be on the sidelines of the cyclocross thing with like a metal rod or something to just toss out there to see if we can get one of those.
Enough of them were eating it
like
anyway.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
They didn't need
flips
any
on.
help falling down.
So for some of the days, I found myself like watching the morning events the best I could, which was basically standing and watching a giant screen. And then I would leave and just go to a coffee shop and spend the entire rest of the day watching it on Wi-Fi in air conditioning with coffee.
That sounds way better.
That's right.
That's how we watched it.
Fantastic. That's the way to do it.
Were you not in the stadium?
No, just leave the stadium.
Yeah,
Because there's no reason for me to be there. It's either
it added nothing for you to be there.
right.
You know,
I had no sort of like compulsion to wander the vendor village. Like I saw all my friends. I said hi to everyone I wanted to say hi to.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, at this point, if I want to follow the event and actually be able to work, I can't be here anymore. And so, you know, that's one thing that they can pretty easily fix. Like, you know, the North Park venue where they did the obstacle course and the strongman stuff. That venue was kind of like just a mismatch of some bad decisions, I would say. Logistically, it just wasn't planned out well. They basically like took a parking lot just north of the Coliseum, and they built a venue. So they brought in like a giant video board, bleachers around it, and then they built like this 3-foot platform or 4-foot platform and cut it in half, and half of it was sand and the obstacle course, and the other half was like fake turf. So they created it from scratch. The problem was, while the obstacle course is up, there was no good seating. You know, there's maybe I don't know, 600 or 700 seats that were like sideways that you could watch the entire action. But if you're sitting in any of the other seats, you're blocked by one of the obstacles, right? Whether it was a wall or the net or like whatever, something was blocking your view, so you could only really see part of the event. And then the same thing was going on when the strongman stuff was. They did a good job of tearing down the obstacle course pretty quickly after it was done, but still, it was just like it was hard to follow. It's hard to watch the entire thing when you're standing, you're below the level of the event, and when you're seated, you're either too far away from the action or you're obscured by something else. I think that's a really easy fix. You know, that's just something that if they have a little more time, which now they have a full year of leeway, they can plan that better. They have this space. They know what they can build.
They have experience within the space now.
Experience within the space. They know what they have available to them. So they can really build out something that's a lot more. In my mind, what would work there is something like the soccer field from Carson. Huge open space, a ton of seating right on top of it so that you can see everything, and it has that really epic feel. The North Park was just a little too small and like mixed up to have that epic feel.
Interesting. So in terms of cool stuff, what was the? Let's talk about cool things you saw. What was going on there the first couple days?
Well, so you know the new sort of competition schedule of everybody goes Thursday through Sunday was a lot harder on the athletes than I think they expected it to be. You know, some of the athletes that I was talking to, you know, they were saying at the end of last year's games, I'm talking like top 10 guys. At the end of last year's games, they're like, I kind of walked away with it. It was fine. This year, they're like, we're fucked. Like my legs are destroyed. My arms are just like we're just fucked.
Just wrecked. And
so, you know, the competition schedule I think is really good. They did a good job of utilizing the athletes' time and kind of like putting together these events and really stacking in a ton of events in the course of that 4 days. I think they did 13 total scored events.
Yeah, they've done 13 for a little while here, at least if you combine the half events together. Why lucky number 13 for the events?
It's usually 13 you know, and if you split it to like the smaller events, they'll do like 15 scored events, but some of them are like 50 pointers.
It's like 1,300
It tends to be 1,300 points, and I think it's just a logistics thing. You know, if you look at how they split up the events,
but why not 12 or 14? Why stick it on 13 there?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I know that just looking at the schedule, it makes sense what they were doing. They did 3 events on Wednesday. They did 4 events on Thursday, and then they started early on Friday. I think they did 4 events again on Friday, and then another 4 events on Saturday, and 3 events on. So like they did a fuck ton. It was crazy, like the amount of. And so you know, some of the things that I was hearing was like, you know, they had to be really careful. The athletes had to be really careful to be able to recover Thursday night to Friday morning because it was a really short turnaround. Like it was a less than 12-hour turnaround to when they had to check back in to when their event finished on Thursday night. So like, you know, one of the cool things we saw was they were actually being tested across 4 days on like a lot of different shit. And it was really awesome, actually. The events, I thought, in general, were really good. Overall, it was an exciting show to watch, especially the very last event. You know, Castro, if there's one thing that he understands, it's how to program races. You know, so he does a really good job of building in these like intense like competitive moments within workouts.
Yeah, when the
Oh,
when the
those
final
kinds of
event
races, okay.
when the final event was announced, I remember all kind of left scratching our heads a little bit. We're kind of like, oh, it seems kind of a weird final event. It seems very brief, and then very quickly it began to emerge. Oh, this is all to cultivate, you know, an exciting finish, much
Exactly.
like the, you know, kettlebell deadlift, whatever. And sure enough, it fucking worked in the women's competition. Holy shit!
So speaking of which, thing that like me watching as a spectator is not as into it as all of you, obviously. One thing that I thought of that like was, I don't know, it was kind of weird to me watching other sports or whatever, is that like the women's race, like at the end, like was fucking neck and neck. It was exciting. I was like into it. Everyone was into it. The whole like living room was shouting and like cheering and etc. And then the men's thing following was just like, cool. So we're just gonna watch this event. We know who wins, you know, etc. Like, are there thoughts about like maybe like doing what you do on like towards the end of an NFL season when certain games that were supposed to be televised or maybe not,
just, like, kick 'em?
Yeah.
kick them, switch it around, maybe make the women's final like the final.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, you're 100% right. I think what they had done was, I don't know if they really thought it through to the point of like, oh man, Matt Fraser's going to dominate again this year. But I think what they had done was they alternated which division started first each day.
Okay.
And it just happened that the women started first on Sunday.
Yeah.
So the women did all their, like on the first event, the women went first and then the men went second. And same thing, the second event on Sunday, women went first. And so they just happened to be going before it. But the way they've like fixed that in the past is they'll have like let's say there's 4 total heats. They'll have the first 3 heat of women go, and then the first 3 heat of men go, and then the last heat of women, last heat of men. So they end up like kind of taking the last most important heats and they put them last. And I think they kind of should have done that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is such like a logistical nightmare for them to fucking create the games that I think they're just over moving shit around
and
that
much. But let's talk for a second about that women's final, because holy shit, that was exciting.
It was
to watch.
beautiful.
It was so good. And I mean, just, you know, we knew it could not possibly have been closer and more exciting and leaving you more in a place of anticipation for that final announcement of who won. Because even if you were paying very, very, very close attention to the point spread, you could only, until the words came out of Castro's mouth, only have a pretty good indication as to who it was who was going to win. You know, I mean, you had Tia, who was Tia collapsed, or not collapsed, but finished like exactly what shouldn't have happened, what she couldn't let happen on the previous event happened, which is she finished low, Kara finished high, and a bunch of people crossed the line in between. So she lost all these fucking points. She had a 6-point lead over Kara going into that final event, which is like literally a one-place finish. Yeah, exactly. So it's like you let one person come between them and they're gone. So then, you know, I mean, but it looked like she was so safe. She was consistently ahead of Kara the entire workout, heading down with the, which was, you know, very exciting, but still. And then it was just seemed like, okay, and here we're about to crown, just a few more seconds before she crowned. On the last rep, she lunges across, her elbows break. Finally, she just can't hold it up any longer, gets no rep, takes a step back. Kara steps to her level. They step across at the exact same moment. They both charge across, and you can see clearly Kara get it first. And so I remember when we were watching it, I leapt out of my chair, and I was just like, Kara beat her.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
And then that's the thing, is like they finished only like a quarter of a second apart, but then you just don't know, because it's just like, I don't think
had Kara beat her by 2 seconds, maybe that would have been enough time
so
for another person to
if
get
any person from a previous heat had finished between those 2 times, then Kara would be the CrossFit Games champion. And so it's just, you're like, I don't think that could have happened, right? Were those the fastest times overall? Whatever. And all of a sudden Castro's like, and your winner is, and you're like, ah!
Yeah. There's actually even more levels to this, right?
Yeah.
There's more that added tension to it. It wasn't just like, yes, there was a 6-point gap. Yes, Tia had to just finish ahead of her and she would lock it up. Yes, if Kara finished ahead of her, well ahead of her, it would have been over. But there's even more, right? So in 2015, when the last time they had parallel handstand push-ups and those heavy kettlebells in the finals, Tia took 2nd or 4th overall. in that workout, and Kara took 32nd.
Oh yeah.
So it was like I remember texting Chase. I was like, I don't know what that's all about. I remember texting
points.
Chase, and I was like, Chase, could you look back? Like no internet was working or anything like that. So I was like, Chase, could you look back and just look at the leaderboard and just tell me what this difference was? And he was like, holy shit, like I can't believe this, like this difference is crazy. She has no chance. And I was like, wow, even if Kara Webb improved by massive margins, she would still stand no chance at winning.
But wasn't
this.
15 the year she had her big collapse though?
That was 14.
14, okay.
And then, well, actually no.
Well, no,
that was
the Murph. Yeah, the
15
Murph
was the year
collapse.
she got
Okay,
So
no,
she
I'm
was
talking
yeah.
about the total collapse.
No, I'm talking about
And
her
then,
big, like carried out on a stretcher moment.
even further, there was some drama surrounding Kara Webb's finish in the second to last event with the overhead squats.
Oh,
because
right,
her
yes,
judge
yes.
allowed her to finish
early.
with 3 reps remaining.
Yes.
And she got dinged 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is a fair number because
yeah.
they based it off of how long her last 3 reps took. But there's a chance that if she had just finished that workout, she would have had enough points to win.
Oh, really? So wait. So that would be interesting.
By
So
the end
she
of it,
finished,
she only lost by 2 points.
Yeah.
Out of 1,300 possible
So wait,
points, she
if
lost
she
by 2.
okay, if she had gone slightly faster than 6 seconds for
Let's
that
say
thing,
she completed her last 3 reps
how would
in
that have
4
improved
seconds.
her?
I wonder if was there enough grouping around that finish that she would have actually gathered spots.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
There was,
because
okay.
she would have been like second instead of fourth.
Okay.
And that's like an 8-point
so
difference or
everyone was
something.
crossing at the
Whatever.
same
wow.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
people
yeah.
were crossing around the same
So
time.
the margins were that narrow.
In that final heat, people were crossing around the same time. There's maybe
Wow.
3 people that finished around that time. And if she had just...
So that one asshole judge may have cost her.
But at the same time, so
Yeah.
here's another thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you go yet further back during the snatch event, Alessandra Pacelli snatched 207 or something like that. But because her bar was like misloaded, and by misloaded it just means it was uneven. It was 207 pounds. It was just uneven.
Yeah.
She couldn't take first. So her previous attempt is what counted, and Kara Webb got bumped to first place in that event.
Ah.
So it's like there's a lot of like give and take with Kara's points over the course of the weekend. I think she ended up where she belonged, but I mean, you're talking about the smallest fucking margin.
I mean,
2
she won
points.
by 2 points. They essentially tied at the end
2
of
points
all those events.
Over
Yeah.
1,300 possible points.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
That is nothing. Oh man, and it's like she has waited. Kara's waited. Like I mean, like Tia's been here for what 3 years now, but Kara's waited like 6 years for everything to align and for nothing to go wrong, and it finally happens. 2 points shy of Tia. There, it was a really and it was an awesome fucking finish to all that stuff. And I was honestly glad that it was Tia. I don't even know why, but just that was my gut was just like I'm glad that it was Tia that won instead of Kara. But I don't know why. But I like Tia.
I mean, I like them both. They're cool too. But I picked Tia because I think that she should have won in 2015.
Yeah.
And it was a scoring error that
because
took her
of the
out.
pegboard scoring.
Right.
Yeah.
Fake
And then
news.
what's that?
Fake news.
Chase is a catcher and apologist.
Oh, okay.
And in 2016,
1%er.
Tia was the only person who finished all the events. So there's no reward for doing that, obviously, but there maybe should be, right?
Remind me real quick what the scoring error was. I kind of think
in
I remember.
2015, there was no way of them knowing that none of the women would be able to do the pegboard. And so when only 12 women or 11 women were able to do a single rep, everyone else tied for 12th instead of tying for last. So they tied for 12th for doing zero work.
Yeah.
And
some of them chose to do
and
zero
some
work.
of them chose to do zero work. So there's you can watch it. You know, Sarah Sigmund's daughter, Tia Claire Toomey, they're
Fighting the whole time.
fighting the pegboard and getting a rep or two. And Katrin is waiting and resting for the final event.
Yeah.
And that point difference is what, like, if she had placed any low, if like one other person had done a pegboard, Tia would have won.
Yeah.
But if they had just scored it where like, hey, if you get a 0, you don't get 12th place, you get last place, then it would have changed the
like
podium
if,
completely.
if everyone had gotten like last place point arrangements,
Right.
But yeah, and would she have even known that going into that? Would they have known
Oh yeah,
how the scoring?
100. They
So you think-
100%
do you think Ben
knew.
Bergeron
Ben
would have
Bergeron
advised-
told Katrin, no one has gotten like the lowest you'll get here is 12th, or the
So
lowest
just
you'll get here is
sit.
10th. So there's no point to try it.
Gotcha. He's a crafty one.
He's smart, yeah.
He's a
obviously,
crafty man.
he's obviously doing something right. I mean,
yeah.
you know, his athletes won last year. This year, Katrin had a really phenomenal second half of the competition. She still had she had holes in her game where she's always had holes in her game, and the problem is, as she's like shoring up other like holes in her game, like other places where she can be stronger, these weaknesses of hers are being overtaken by other people who are better. So, you know, she's always had issues with upper body pulling, whether it's legless rope climbs, muscle ups, pegboard. Those are all the same problem for her. And so when the Amanda 45 workout came out, which was like all those muscle ups, all the squat snatches, she just wasn't able to hang. Not that she's not good, she crushed the workout. She just wasn't able to hang with the top 20 CrossFit Games athletes. And the games today are a completely different beast than they were even last year, much less 3 years ago. And so having one poor finish is impossible to overcome.
What do you mean by that? In that it's a different beast than even last year? Like in what way?
Last year on the women's side, it was a close race. It was definitely a close race. On the men's side, Matt destroyed everybody. Right? He would have had the same margin of victory this year if the deadlift was a snatch instead of the deadlift last year. You know what I mean? So the reason why his margin of victory was lower is because they chose to do deadlift, and that's just not something that he excels at. So the margins of error are like very, very slim, and every year they get more and more slim. Like it's kind of like an arms race. Like how good Matt is and how good Katrin is are pushing these athletes to get better and better and better each year. And you know, there's a couple things to notice from that, but the main thing to notice from that, at least for this point, is that the margins that you're allowed to slip are no longer the same size. Like, you know, so look at Rich Froning, for example. Every year Rich Froning won, he had to claw back. Like every year they always relied on him on Sunday to win every event in order to win. And like, just wrap your brain around that. He was always the favorite to win, but he was never ever safe.
Yeah, he had he had lower finishes than one could get away with today, is what you're saying.
He would never be able to do what he did, placing the way that he did.
Interesting.
And every year he had a low placing.
Yeah.
The only year that he was like truly like untouchable was probably 2011.
Yeah.
And you know, so it's like there's no more margin of error. You know, you have to be
Is that what we're
proficient.
seeing happen to an athlete like Josh Bridges, who, you know, is slipping, or you know, who is he's kind of been performing at that same level, but is now kind of falling off?
Possibly. Josh Bridges was sick the first few days of the game. So like basically through Friday or Saturday, he was like not able to hold any food down.
Gotcha.
So, you know, we saw a couple flashes of his capacity, especially on like the heavy 17.5 event. And kind of like the second to last event that was over at squats and stuff. Like we saw his abilities starting to shine through, but he wasn't the athlete that he was prepared to be that week. He was just really sick.
Word.
But yeah, that's exactly what's going on. That's what happened to Katrin this year. She still came back for 5th place. Is that right, Chase?
No, she
6th?
was. No, 5th. You're right.
So she still came back for a 5th place finish, and she had like a 22nd and a 24th place finish. So she was really fucking good across the board.
Arguably performed better than Froning did in certain years that he won.
Right.
You know.
100%.
Yeah.
And so
finishes.
But it's just the level of competition is starting to like come up, and that's the nature of the game, right? So I was talking to Fikowski before the game started, and he was saying,
was he like super chill? What did he smell like?
He smelled like sandalwood. It was really nice. A true man.
He smelled like maple syrup, is what he smelled like. Canadian tall drink of water.
And so I was chatting with Fikowski, and we were talking about his approach going into the games, and he was telling me last year, all throughout the Open into regionals, he knew that he was going to make the games. He just he was like, I feel on a different level compared to my competitors, and he proved it at regionals last year and this year as well. But so going into the games last year, he was like, looking at this field of competitors, the only two men who can beat me are Matt Frazier and maybe Ben Smith. Like he looked at the competitors from 2015, he looked at the people who qualified in 2016, and he said the only men that can beat me are Matt Frazier and Ben Smith. And he didn't count Patrick Vellner because Patrick Vellner's scores ended up getting higher than his because of someone else's fuck up.
Yeah.
Right? So because BKG walked across the finish line instead of running across the finish line, Patrick Vellner earned those extra 4 points.
Interesting.
So it's like, if you look at the way that the games are played, it's a points game. And so when I was talking to Brent about his approach this year, he said the exact same thing. He said, you know, I was worried earlier this year because I was looking at everyone that I was going to compete against, and I knew that the only person that was fitter than me is Matt Frazier. It's like looking at the quality of athletes that are qualifying, they can't beat me. Matt can beat me. He goes, but for a while, he's like, I kept telling myself that. I kept thinking to myself, Matt's fitter than me. This is going to be, I don't think I can beat him. He goes, and then I realized that it doesn't matter that he's fitter than me. What matters is that I might be able to earn more points than him. And so that's the attitude you have to have. Now, that didn't happen, but that's the game. The game is earning points. And so,
you never, and the other thing is, especially as margins get narrower and narrower, I mean, not like that Matt won by a narrow margin by any stretch, but as margins get narrower and narrower, some sort of slip up or fuck up or something like that can allow someone to easily step past someone who might, in some objective sense, be fitter than them. You know, can kind of take a big step past so you kind of have to have a, not just at that capacity, but also a perfect performance.
And there were places, exactly, and and that's one of the things that, you know, my analysis before the games was 3 things have to happen for Matt Frazier to lose. Someone has to be able to win multiple events. That same person has to stay within a couple places of him on everything else. And then the off chance that Frazier fucks up somewhere, that same person has to capitalize and win that event. So there's a big gap. And Fikowski was able to do 2 of those things. Right? He stayed with him on most of the events, and he was able to win a couple events. The problem was no one expected that Matt probably wouldn't fuck up. And the only place where he did fuck up, George Sanchez is the one that capitalized on it and took the win. So
which event's that?
That was the assault banger.
Okay, right.
And so like there is a possibility there. It's just such a small fucking window.
I missed the banger thing because I was because there was one of the days I couldn't watch, but someone had told me that Sanchez did how many calories in how many seconds?
40 calories on the assault bike
in 26 seconds.
26 seconds.
Jesus Christ!
That's one Tabata round.
He finished so quickly that we thought he cheated. We're like, the judge fucked up. They let him off the thing, and he was just
pulled
like,
a Kara.
He was like 6 to 8 feet down the banger before the next person got onto it.
I can't, like, as someone who's on an assault bike a few times a week, generally spending about a minute to do 20 calories. You know, as my warm up. The idea of in a third of that time doing 40, I just don't know what that would even look like. Like, how is that possible?
Brutality is what it is. I mean, you're talking about he's maxing out the wattage on the bike and then being able to walk off of it and do something else.
And the sad part is, if he had made it to 44 calories, he would have traveled back to 1955.
That's true.
And where he would be the fuck his mom.
So that would have happened. Unfortunately, it didn't.
Yes,
but,
unfortunately.
Just flaming skid marks where the assault bike was.
But meanwhile, that's why, unfortunately, he didn't podium, because he was slowly fading away out of a picture the whole time. But thankfully,
I can't grab the.
But thankfully, he did get the opportunity to invent rock and roll, so it's all good.
So everything ended up okay.
And he is the true originator of the term "Dirty Sanchez."
That's
I'll let you figure out exactly where
when
and
it
how.
came up. Yeah, it happened.
Anyway, so. Yeah, it was a really good weekend. I think overall it was cool, and I'm really excited to see what they end up doing over the next couple of years, because I think their move to Madison has a lot of potential. Overall, I think it was a really good move.
I liked seeing kind of cool. I loved the strongman event. I thought that was really fun. I thought that was such a wonderful. Something we haven't talked about enough on this podcast is what's appealing about just an elegantly designed workout, where you see like immediately you look at the movements, and after a few seconds you're like, oh, I get it. clever. You know, it's like even when I'm in the
Clever
gym
girl.
and I'm trying to put together my own workouts, like they have to have a kind of elegance to them. So it's like, well, this will descend by reps of 5 and this will increase by reps of 5, and then they'll meet in the middle on the last round, and I'm like, now it's a workout. You know, it has, because like
no one wants to do like 23, 17, 8.
Exactly. Like I even hated at the games when they're like, and the next round is 13 reps. I'm like, bullshit. First of all, make it 14, and the next round should be 7. Okay, that's how this shit needs to happen. All right. But the elegance of workouts, but not just in terms of numbers, but also in terms of conceptual stuff. Like we talked about at regionals, it was a workout. It's like, oh, they're doing lunges, and then they're doing wall ball shots, and then they're doing rope climbs. It's like ascending. I get it. And so what I loved about that workout is you took these two opposing elements, strongman, and then a skilled gymnastics movement. And if you're moving in one direction, it's strongman, and but you can't take everything in one trip, so you have to move back. But if you move the other way, you have to move with gymnastics.
Yeah.
So it was like this wonder. It had this opposition of movement, which was beautiful, but then opposition of two modalities and two skill sets that would advantage two different types of athletes. And so it was just a perfect, elegant workout that just like it communicates an idea. It was like a little work of art in itself, and I was really nice about that.
I 100% agree. I think overall the programming is probably some of the best we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think another example of that, maybe a slightly more subtle example of that, is like, imagine you have the CrossFit Games, right? Imagine you're planning the CrossFit Games. You're like, fuck, I have the 40 best and the 40 best men, 40 best women, CrossFitters for 4 days.
Yeah.
What do I do with them?
Yeah.
Right? And so, an example of, I think, a really elegant workout would be the run, swim, run. Mile and a half run, 500 meter swim, mile and a half run. That workout, you can double it, you can cut it in half, and every variation of it is going to have a different set of winners, right? But that version of it, basically a 5K run and a 500 meter swim, is just so well put together that it kind of punishes people who don't spend enough time in that like endurance world, and it punishes people who just pain cave their way through like 20 or 30 minute AMRAPs, and it also punishes people who are too much in that cardio world and can't push the pace on both of those events. So it's a really interesting, like, it really is like a CrossFit combo of that like duathlon, as opposed to just doing a longer thing. I thought that was a really smart move to make it those distances. And I also heard that the 500 was actually a little bit longer. It was probably closer to like 6 or 650.
That makes sense.
Armin,
good.
Did you see that latest BSD post, Ben Smith's dad?
About what? About
Fikowski's
Fikowski?
mom.
About Fikowski's mom? Yeah, I saw it. Ben Smith's dad's very funny. Not the actual Ben Smith's dad.
No. But
BSD,
a funny person.
Yeah. BSD is quite funny. He had this whole thing about with Fikowski going on, that some American is going to beat him and this and that, and well, some American did beat him, just not not Ben Smith.
How do we feel about the cyclocross?
How do we feel about the
How do we
cyclocross,
feel
Kyle?
about it?
I feel like you have feelings.
It was I did not watch on the day, but I was watching some heats now, and it was nice and kind of dull to watch for me personally. I know some people fell down, and I didn't particularly like it. What are your thoughts, Armin?
I thought it was okay at best. I think it was an interesting idea. I think it's one of those things that it's only going to be better if they do it again, right? And one of the things to me that I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but to me, I thought that they needed to find a way to make the playing field more level. And what I mean by that is there are people who got penalized because their bikes chains popped off. And that, I think, is like an unfair moment, right?
Yeah.
That's a really shitty thing to do. Happened to Carrie Pierce. Her bike like fucking disintegrated in the middle of one of her laps, and she had to walk it.
The entire bike disintegrated.
And it turned
And that was her finish?
She ended up getting the chain back on because she just like, people were like yelling instructions at her. And they kind of thought that through. They put 2 points, 1 point at the very top in the middle and 1 point at the bottom right before the finish line for each lap, where you could pull
Exchange your
over and
bike.
exchange your bike for a new bike.
Yeah.
But you can only move in one direction.
Uh-huh.
And if your bike falls apart, you have to carry it to that moment.
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
basically get last place.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I thought that the fact that we're not bicyclists.
Yeah.
If it is a human error thing that the chain's popping off.
Yeah.
Then we shouldn't be like they
shouldn't
shouldn't
be held
punished
accountable
for it.
for being able to
You need to
execute that.
Yeah, the organization needs to account for that and clear that as a possibility, because that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes a really big difference. Other than that, I thought the event was fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
I didn't see Camille's crash. I haven't watched.
It was
the video
during
yet.
the practice run, I think.
Practice run. Gotcha.
Interesting.
I would have liked to see. My thing is like, what makes CrossFit, right? It's the mixing of
Instagram.
things.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Also
ahead.
Instagram. It's the mixing of things. Like one rep max snatch is fucking awesome, and they should do that no matter what. They shouldn't mix that. Well, like they can mix it with other things, but like it's fucking
Swimming.
awesome. But like, yeah, what I would have liked to see is, imagine if it was still 3 rounds of that course, but it was Fran. 21-21 a lap, 15-15 a lap, 9-9 and a lap, and then suddenly you're just adding some other thing to it that's like much more
Thrusters with the bike.
Yes,
bike
why
thrusters,
not?
sure, with your teeth.
Yes.
Just wrap your dick in that chain and fucking run it.
Legless
See who goes.
legless rope climbs while holding the bike between your
Right,
legs.
it's legless
There you go.
because you're carrying the bike with you. You're
That's
strapped
right.
into the bike.
That's right.
So that's what I
No, I
would have
completely
liked
agree.
to see.
I like seeing those elements get like I loved back in the day. Mixing swimming with bar muscle ups. Because that felt so much more like CrossFit to me than to use it as an element within a workout versus just seeing their capacity strictly at swimming sprints in a pool, which, while fun, is just again not. It's just not. It's less flattering to the athletes involved, certainly. But
I think
also just feels less CrossFit-y.
I think
to
the
me.
best water event that they've ever done was the beach event in 2014. It was
Oh, right.
swim, burpees, thrusters, swim, thrusters, burpees, swim. That's a fucking terrible
or what was the one?
combination.
What was the one where it was swim, run, and then into basically like a bunch
Murph.
of Cindy? And it was Murph. Yeah, that was that. Okay, yeah, okay.
It was like a 200. That was more like just Murph with like a 200-meter swim buy-in. But at that point, none of them ever swam. So they were just completely caught off guard by the idea that they had to be in the water. They provided fins for people that year.
Yes. Oh, right. Fins. I remember the fins thing. They need to bring back those paddle boards. That's what they need to bring back.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, we haven't seen real rowing yet. That's one thing we
did not see real rowing.
With those
I did
with
not
the
know.
lakes, a nice even lake.
You didn't want to just see a bunch of CrossFitters falling out of boats.
Oh God, Camille dislocated his shoulder falling into water.
I get
She
it.
hasn't even made it to the lake yet. She just the boats fell on her. Oh no, I am underneath these boats. Someone please. She's Russian again.
Underneath these boats.
I have the perfect event, you guys.
Let's hear it.
One cyclocross lap. Then you have to put your fucking bike on a canoe, row it across the lake. Another cyclocross lap.
But you and the bike and the scorpion can
Yes.
only be in the boat at the same time.
That's what I was gonna say. They need to create that like chicken wolf bike or boat problem, and that's just the thing.
That's true. Those are two different parables. There's the one about not trusting the scorpion. And there's the one. There was an actual like brain teaser years ago where it's like you have like what was it? Yeah. You have like a wolf
and you have a chicken
and something else. And they like if the wolf is in the boat with the chicken, it eats that, but you can't have this in the boat with something. There was like a third element, wasn't it? And you had to figure out how many boat trips across would it take to
That's what they need to do. They need to put in a brain teaser, a 1940s-esque brain teaser.
Exactly.
And speaking
but with
of which,
actual wolves.
That's
Don't
right.
forget, somehow, with 3 jugs of water that have to be placed in the end.
Yes.
Well, how else do you know they finish?
That's right.
The thing about
to
Madison.
say Simon Says.
Simon Says.
The thing about Madison is, it's not in California.
Bullshit.
Hard to believe, and therefore the crowd, not a bunch of Californians.
No.
Which was really interesting to be surrounded by not people from LA at the CrossFit Games.
I'm sure were they
Well,
not all
who's
shredded?
the audience made up of?
The audience was made up of what you would imagine, people from places like Wisconsin.
Yes.
And
But who were
other Midwest,
CrossFitters?
other
okay.
Midwestern states.
So it's
Were
still
they
a
full of
CrossFit
cheese?
audience.
They were full of shirts.
Oh yes.
I saw one shirtless dude, and he was inside the Coliseum,
Oh,
and
I
I just
get it,
wanted
yeah.
to fucking punch him in the ear. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
So you're
Like,
saying that they were like normal people.
they were normal people. They were
Yes.
normal, non-shallow
Yeah.
people. It was
yes.
shocking
So-
to me how normal
Armin,
the crowd was.
Do you have feelings on LA?
You are
something
from there.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I'm one of, again.
Were
one of
you the
few
one guy
people-
without his shirt on?
I was. I wanted to punch myself in the ear. You're stupid. I hate you. Why are you doing this? No. Yeah. I am one of the few people that was actually born and raised in the city of Los Angeles. And yeah. No, we're good. I think we're good.
Yeah. That is interesting. I just assumed that culture would just follow the games
No.
wherever it went.
No.
No.
Apparently, that culture didn't give a shit.
How was the temperature there?
It was actually okay. So the first couple days it rained in the mornings. One of them, the first day on Thursday, it rained so badly that they have a CrossFit Games app, and so they were sending out like, we're canceling outdoor events due to severe weather, and I think part of that is that you can't swim when there's thunderstorms.
Yeah.
So they had to pull people and stop people while there were thunderstorms, and then by like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, though, it was like bright and sunny because that's never happened, and so they pulled people back out. So that happened like Thursday. It was like really rainy in the morning.
I wonder if that's why those events are isolated on individual days, so they have hours to fall back into, you know, in case of weather. So it's like why you have the swim, run, swim, and then the next day you have the cyclocross. Were those run on the same day or different days?
Swimmer and swim cyclocross was same day.
Same day, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
but at least there's more room in there. In case
Luckily,
of-
the grass, the cyclocross path dried out relatively well. You know, by the time that they got out there, otherwise it would have been pretty slick and dangerous, I'd say. But otherwise, they were fine. And then the next day it rained a little bit as well, but they didn't really do a ton of stuff. That was the O course day, and it was more like just a little damp as opposed to really rainy.
Yeah.
So it didn't really slow them down that much. It slowed them down enough that they had to be cautious, like they would slip off some of the implements. But overall, you know, the weather was actually pretty good. You know, the temperature-wise, that's the temperature you want. You don't want it to be fucking 95 degrees or
you don't.
105 degrees. You want it to be like 70 degrees so that they can actually perform well.
Yeah.
It's just the rain kind of slows things down.
So what you're saying is the CrossFit Games should not move to Austin, Texas during the summer.
Fuck no.
Should not.
Oh my God. We've had like 100 days of 100 degrees.
We have.
Yeah.
I went to Whole Foods for lunch, and I was just driving, and it's mild because it rained the last couple days, and I remember just thinking, man, it is so much nicer. Like I'm not driving I'm not like trying to like park my car like at a stoplight, but like under a tree at the same time, like drive like just anything. Like I'm not freaking out while just driving to lunch. And I thought, it's so much better. And I looked, and it's like, it's only 90 degrees right now. That's why.
Well,
and it's amazing the difference between. And for those of you who do not live in Texas, you wonder, once it gets 97, 98 degrees, can you really feel the difference between that and 105? Yes.
Yeah.
You sure can.
Yeah.
It makes going outside just fucking madness. Like you just go outside and then you're kind of panicking from the moment you get out there, even if you're in your car, to the moment you get somewhere else that has air conditioning, and you're always sweating all day.
Yeah.
Stinky butts
Everywhere.
and balls.
I mean, your taint
Yes.
is going to be just
Yeah.
ooey gooey.
Yes, that's why I felt
all day
that
long.
my car seat is just a pile of Gold Bond powder that I sit in. That I just sit in, and it forms a little crevasse for me to sit in with a little nook from a beanbag right there. Testicles.
Just a big old.
That, I was
Specifically
wondering
what
why you
Gold
get
Bond is
naked
for.
every time you get into your
Oh,
car.
yeah.
That is 100% what Gold
So
Bond is
Gold
for.
Bond is just
Not
ju-
the
it's
foot
just
powder.
the ball powder.
Not the foot powder, the gold one. The
Yes.
blue one, the blue-green one.
If you
that's
put
the, foot
the other
powder.
one on, if you put the wrong one on, it will turn your dick into a foot.
Yeah.
So
And
you'll
only
grow a toenail on the end of your penis.
Only a few people like that.
That could be interesting for some uses.
Yes.
Yeah. Like picking stuff out of your teeth.
Exactly. Picking stuff out of other people's teeth.
I know there's a reason I've been working on my flexibility.
That's right. But yes, Gold Bond is entirely invented probably by Duke Gold Bond,
Yes.
who was a Texan who was like,
Who
my
had-
balls are so sweaty.
So
And it's
sweaty.
like, there's nothing quite as satisfying though as that moment where like you kind of like like just cough some Gold
Bond
Bond into your hand
and
and just
slap
like
it on the
slap
dick
it
and
on your
balls.
balls, and then you put the Gold Bond down on your
And it'll
counter and
crystal
like
plume.
poofs up, and you're like, yeah,
that's right.
we did work, buddy.
Yes. And you're just like, I feel just like LeBron James.
Take a breather. Yeah, I think is a perfect
Yes.
perfect sound effect.
That's the
for
sound of
Sonic Gold
that's
Bond.
the sound of smooth dry balls.
That's right. Anyway, yeah. So that was the games. I
Yeah.
think there's probably something else. Some Masters athletes saved another Masters athlete life from,
life,
from drowning. That was
But
pretty cool.
neither of them were Chris Spieler, so
So who cares?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the men's 35 to 39
Yeah.
podium was basically like hashtag CrossFit Games 2013.
I know.
Oh, I didn't
It was,
see
it was
it at all.
Neil Maddox, Chris Spieler, and
Kyle Kasperbauer won.
Kasperbauer, yeah.
Neil Maddox got second, and Chris
Okay.
Spieler got third.
How-
It was
I was
awesome.
wondering what happened to that guy.
Kyle Kasperbauer had shoulder surgery, and then was 1 year, and then was sick 2 years in a row for the Open. So 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, he couldn't really even try and qualify.
Should have been taking more D3.
Yeah, that was the problem.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
But wasn't Kyle Casper? Maybe I'm confusing him with someone else. But wasn't Kyle Kasperbauer the guy who knocked Spieler out of a regional spot for the first year that Spieler didn't make it to regionals? Or am I confusing Kyle?
I think you're
Kasper-
confusing him with someone else.
Okay. Then I guess
It could
I
have
am.
been, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't forget, guys, the team competition. And I didn't watch any of the team competition, really, but I do remember one thing that was lots of fun was Mr. Sourpuss.
Mr. Sours. Oh,
yeah.
right.
Rich
We need
was
to talk
There's,
about that.
there's actually a couple pieces of stuff to talk about here. So one is
We were joking
yes.
before he went out there about, he's not going to be happy to be a
Fuck
second.
no.
And it was hilarious how transparently not happy he was standing there. So
He is the most competitive human on the planet.
yeah.
So like honestly, for the next like 3 months, he's gonna be like dunking on his child.
Yeah.
Just like, I fucking win. I'm the winner.
Did that feel like a silver medal dunk
you
to
think
you,
a second
bitch?
place motherfucker is gonna do that shit? I won. Yeah. So
He right this
every
morning.
workout-
This morning he was eating his granola while wearing all of his previous gold medals.
Yeah, he sent out a group text to everyone on CrossFit Mayhem. Dear team, fuck you. First silver place in 7 years.
we were joking that like he's been super happy and content, and now he's going to go back to individual competition.
He's definitely not
Yeah.
going back to
He's gonna
individual
go back to
competition.
individual. You guys have all let me down. I'll have to do this myself.
No,
But he'll enter
so
as a team by himself.
he would still not be last, by the
Yeah.
way, if he did that. Rich Froning is such a competitive human being and also has no ability to hide that.
No.
And so that was 100. That's one thing that I really like about him. That was 100% his honest reaction. Was fuck this.
Yeah.
This sucks.
He
like
had-
you can tell he was so upset, and
Yeah.
not in like a oh man second place. He was like,
Yeah.
I can't fucking believe
I
this.
can't believe I'm here. Yeah. And like he had that I'm trying to keep it together pursed mouth frown of just.
Yeah.
And then the best part was when they tried to do the champagne
champagne.
thing.
Yeah,
He
and
literally
he was just
walked,
like-
he walked to the end of the podium and just leaned
was
out
like-
of the way, with, like clasping his hands
Yeah.
in front of him. Oh,
And
he looked
you,
so
you bet
pissed off.
a drop of champagne must have touched him there. And
Yeah.
how hard did he scrub that away?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking loser.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be just months of him rubbing every win in people's faces just to win it
yeah.
back.
Oh yeah.
But no, I don't know. I think my understanding was Rich's plan was to get 4 years of team competition and then retire completely. So I don't think this changes his plan of doing another year of team competition. I think what it does is
But he will euthanize his team.
Yeah, I think
have
he
a
is.
whole new team.
Well,
the
his
next
entire
year.
team has imploded. So all 3 women already had said that this was the last year they're competing
okay,
because
good.
all 3 of them had moved to Cookeville to compete with his team.
And they're sick of his crap.
I mean, I don't know if they're sick of his crap. They just have other shit to do, I
Yeah.
guess. But at this point, Rich Froning can pull whoever the fuck he wants
Yeah.
to
Quick
Cookeville.
question: will Sarah be on the team?
No,
next
no.
year?
Sarah will continue to compete individual, but I think Dan might move back to Cookeville.
Yeah.
I think Dan might move back to Cookeville.
That's a good-
I think he's probably going to try. I think
Get
honestly,
Hobart back on the team.
if you, I don't know if Hobart will go back to Cookeville because I think he's happy being back home. But I imagine what happened with James Hobart moved to Cookeville in 2013, trained all year with Rich, qualified for the 2014 games, lived in Cookeville again for another 2 years, and then moved to the team on 15 and 16. I think the same thing's going to happen. I think he's going to pull, someone who finished on the bottom 15 or the bottom 20 on the men's side, and like 1 or 2 of those athletes are going to move to Tennessee and compete with him. And why wouldn't they? Same thing on the women's side. The Lindy Barber did that. She qualified individually a bunch of times, never really broke past the top 20, and was like, all right, well, I can fucking win the CrossFit Games, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah,
I can win the fucking CrossFit Games
on a team.
Yep. So I think the team that Rich is going to put together is going to be pretty significant. I also think that Rich is hurt, and that he is going to be probably fixing some severe issues with his body over the next few months.
And what makes you think that?
Yeah, I know that he's hurt. And I know he's going to be fixing those things.
You hear that, Vegas?
Yeah.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Injured.
So I think once he heals up, that he's gonna be back to his old self.
So much stress for a competition that no one actually watches.
Yeah.
The affiliate.
It's kind of crazy.
Cup.
Do you think we'll see Josh Bridges on Team Mayhem all the way from California?
I think Bridges likes living in San Diego, but I also wouldn't put it past Rich to put the good dudes together. Can you imagine if Mayhem was the good dudes?
Just like roasting coffee and
making fun of Dan Bailey.
That's right.
Just like, all right, Dingleberry, let's do this.
Hey guys, stop talking to me like that. Shut up, Dan. All right, guys. Oh, jeez, Rich.
Oh, jeez, Rich. You want to be a winner, don't you? Oh, jeez, Rich.
Listen up, Dan. You gotta.
So I think the team that Rich brings to the 2018 CrossFit Games is gonna be pretty fucking stacked.
Yeah.
I suspect that 4 of the 6 are gonna be individual level competitors out of the past 2 years.
Yeah. Cool.
And then on the other side of Sourpuss is Matt Frazier.
Yes.
Did you guys see his post-event interview after he won?
No.
Let me spin a story for you.
I did, but go on.
Wait, I did see the interview, but I'm not.
Matt Frazier wins that last event, right? He
Yeah.
wins his heat. He gets like 3rd place or whatever. He's already won the CrossFit Games. He won it on Saturday. He showed up on Sunday to just steal everyone's fucking souls.
Yep.
And so, he like comes over. They do all those post-event interviews, which were all really bad. They were all really subpar.
Yeah.
I mean, like the people that they pulled for the sideline interviewing, they need to like coach them up for next year because their interview skills just were lacking.
Tia's immediate post-win interview was really weird,
Weird.
because it was just like they were getting all this good stuff of her over by like the team and like hugging people and all this other stuff, and they pulled her over and I don't know who the fuck was doing the interview, but just weird questions that were hard to answer, and she was emotional and like clearly like wanted to be back over by the other girls. She wanted to be back with the other girls, and she was like, so this year you're talking about, and she's like, what? I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, it's really great to have just won 15 seconds ago. I'd like to head back over there. I mean, just ask, like, how do you feel? Isn't this great?
Well, she was trying to probe her about
her
getting
wedding.
married.
Why?
And
You're trying to lead
like
her
she had
into this.
one little bit of knowledge in the small walnut brain of the interviewer there. And she's like kept trying to get her to, and Tia wasn't interested in talking about that really.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she like passive aggressively was like, "And you're fucking getting married, Tia. See you later." And like, oh yeah, that too.
That
like,
too,
man,
yeah.
Who gives a shit? She's really fucking excited for having won the CrossFit Games. Anyway,
CBS people.
No, those were CrossFit people. And so, well, I don't know, but they've been around in the games in the past.
Okay.
Anyway, so Matt Frazier wins. He gets congratulated. He gets pulled over for this interview, and like before the interview starts, he like kind of leans over and he whispers something in the guy's ear, but the guy doesn't hear what he's saying. No one hears what he's saying, and he just comes back, and the guy's like, "So you just won the CrossFit Games. Like, how does it feel?" And he's like, "This is the feeling that I train for every year. Like, you guys see me happy right now, and it's like this is why I put myself through all that hard work and all that pain." And then the guy pulls the mic back and he goes, you know, you've been around the games for a long time. You know, historically, your win last year was very dominant. This year, it's even more dominant. And you can see Matt's face like just like turning to fury, like just starting to get pissed. And the guy goes, you know, what do you think about your wins, like historically, about, you know, where it fits in the history of the games? And Matt's like, I try and take it just one event at a time, one competition at a time. I'm not really worried about, you know, what it all means or anything like that. And the guy pulls the mic away, and Matt Frazier from like away from the mic is like, "Don't ask me about Rich." And we have a fucking gif of it. You can read his lips and look at his face and tell me that's not the most angry human being you've ever seen in your entire life. If he had said, "Don't ask me about Rich," and the guy had said, "So, Rich Froning," Matt Frazier would have just torn his throat out of his neck like fucking Rambo.
They would have done the cool thing where like you take the head, and you spin it, and you rip off the but clean rip off like off the shoulders.
Matt Frazier,
Roadhouse style.
Matt Frazier there was so much spite and fury inside of his soul at that moment because he just fucking won the CrossFit Games in the most dominant fashion possible, and people are like, "What about fucking Rich Froning?" Like, listen, man, he's not just his own guy. He's his own fucking legend.
Yeah, he would have. I think that this year definitely puts any ambiguity to bed about whether. I mean, there's no Rich Froning performance at the games that could have topped Matt either of these years. And
not even close.
2 years in a row, it's pretty clear. So now he just needs to stick around for 2 more years.
The question. So I wrote this whole article about it, but the question people should be asking isn't Froning versus Frazier. The question they should ask is Frazier going to stop at 5? Because he's going to fucking go for 5. You know for a fact he's going to go for 5.
Yeah, but he has that lead that 2 year lead time of like this is now his 4th year. You know? and so that would be he would have to go to
7 years of competitive dominance in order to do it. It would be the craziest fucking. It would be like a Lance Armstrong-esque like 6 Tour de France in a row.
Yes, but with balls.
But with both balls.
Yes. Potentially gold bonded.
Yes.
We're not sure yet.
The gold bond story.
That's a major sponsorship opportunity.
Yeah,
seriously.
100%.
10% gold bond.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Matt Frazier, we talked about this very briefly beforehand, but the CrossFit Games are not the games they were when Rich Froning was competing. The same way that Rich Froning changed the way that people are competing for the CrossFit Games, Matt Frazier has completely changed the way that people are competing at the CrossFit Games. And Matt Frazier's wins have been coming in a completely different era. Froning was winning against the best in 17 regions. Matt Frazier is dominating against the best in 8 super regions and will continue to dominate every year he decides to compete. For as long as he's competing, people won't be able to touch him unless something major happens.
That is the thing, though.
Well, some young whippersnapper could come out of nowhere.
Here's the thing. With Froning, we saw, Matt Frazier qualified for the CrossFit Games in 2014, and immediately you looked at him, you're like, that guy's going to win the CrossFit Games someday. The same thing, you saw Ben Smith in 2009, 2010, you're like, that kid, once he becomes a man, is going to win the fucking CrossFit Games. And look what happened. He grew lats. And fucking Ben Smith won the CrossFit Games.
He just thickened up. Ironically, I think Ben Smith is very that era is very similar to Alex Smith now, because Ben Smith was a super skinny little kid, but he had a 365-pound overhead squat. It's like, where does the strength come from? How can he put it together?
Dick.
What it turned out, he just had to thicken out. It's the girth, not the length.
Alex Smith was impressive this year. He has the raw talent to be a podium guy. I think but mentally
he's a thinner penis of a person. He's a thinner penis of a person.
Mentally, I think Alec needs to put his competitions together better. I think that's that's something that he can really learn from Ben. And I think that's something that he really needs to work on.
But it's also possible that he, he's incredibly gifted at gymnastics and strength and stuff, but he'll just physiologically will never have the engine that a Ben Smith has. I mean, can you make that? I mean, he clearly, made it to the CrossFit Games. He clearly has an engine, but is it a training thing, or is it just the fact that that missing ingredient that separates the guy who qualifies for the CrossFit Game from the guy who wins the CrossFit Games is maybe just not there. You know,
Possibly. I don't know if the more I watch these guys compete, the more I watch these guys train, the more I watch them and the more I talk to them, the less that I believe that these differences when you make it to the CrossFit Games are physical, and the more I believe that they're mental.
interesting.
The thing that separates Matt Frazier from everyone else isn't necessarily that he's more physically gifted. He might be. I mean, listen, he had years of weightlifting experience under his belt. He had years of competitive experience under his belt. He obviously has a natural inclination for this specific sport. That's clear from the get-go, because you're not that good at CrossFit from the very beginning unless you already have some of that like good mix of fast and slow twitch. But the man works harder than everybody else. He puts in more hours than everybody else. He sacrifices more of his normal life than everybody else.
He's still living in his parents'
He
basement.
lives in his parents' basement.
Still.
He trains 9 hours a day. The man probably made close to $1 million in the past 2 years just off of winnings and bonuses. So it's like the guy lives, breathes, and dies by his ability to be better at CrossFit than everybody else. And that's what it takes.
You hear that, world?
So it's like,
that's why you didn't make it to the games.
yeah, and that's fine. That's fucking fine. You know what I mean? Like, and so mentally, his capacity to just wake up and do the work every day, like that fucking shitty, like, all right, I'm going to row 5 1,000s right now. All right, I'm going to go do like 50 squats. Like
It's true. I'm probably never going to do that ever again for the rest of my life.
What's the fucking point?
Why would I row 5 1,000s in a row?
So that's the thing. Like, people look, you know, his ability to just be, this is a weakness of mine, this is a priority of mine to fix it, and therefore this will no longer be a weakness, is unmatched. A lot of people will make excuses or fall off the bandwagon. Matt Frazier is on the bandwagon 100% of the time, and that's a huge difference. And so, you know, that's what separates him from everybody else. His ability to just understand, focus, and commit to fixing the things that are going to topple him. And so, until someone else can fucking do that, people aren't going to beat him. And
there's a lot of guys living in a lot of parents' basements.
That's what it's going to take. That's one of the reasons why Rich Froning should never come back to individual. He doesn't have. There's no reason for him to. He has fucking kids. He has a wife.
Absolutely. That's what. But this year, for instance, you look at someone like Gerard, who I had no idea existed prior to him finishing third at the games.
I vaguely remember his brother Ben,
who got fifth a couple years ago. By the way,
fifth a couple years ago. So there's a lot there, and you know, it's like how much does this? What does this guy have to do now that he's been validated in this way? You know, what is he gonna spend his next year doing? Hopefully just crushing ass, just really just like not training
and fixing his teeth. Don't forget.
Yeah, that too.
What's wrong with his teeth?
I don't know.
You didn't see his teeth?
No. Are his teeth all jacked up?
Yeah, they're pretty jacked up.
I mean, he was a professional rugby player.
One
so.
year, 1 year of training in teeth. Next year, second at the games, good teeth. Then crushing ass, just Canadian pussy. Just
why
like,
Canadian pussy?
Isn't he Canadian? Oh, no, Australian. Sorry.
I was like, wait a second.
He's to move to Vancouver. Start crushing Canadian ass all day.
Ricky Gerard was super fucking impressive this year. And I know the exact moment that I saw him, and I thought to myself, that guy is going to podium this year. And it was when he snatched 287. Because the one thing that Americans have over the rest of the world when it comes to the men's side of the competition is that, generally speaking, more of our competitors grew up around barbells. Whether it's like in football or baseball, they're in weight rooms, which isn't a cultural thing in Europe or Australia.
Interesting.
And so the most challenging thing, like look at Björgvin Carl Gudmundsson, BKG. His most challenging issue isn't his engine. He has a better engine or an equivalent engine to pretty much anybody in the entire competition. He's just not as strong as everybody. And he's been working on getting stronger, but like it takes a long time to go to 300-pound snatch. Ricky Gerard snatched 287 and had a good fucking attempt at 300 at the games. And so the guy, the fact that he has the capacity he has and the strength he has is pretty dangerous. That's a big move. That's a really big move.
And what is briefly? What is his history with this?
He's a professional rugby player.
Pro rugby player.
Pro rugby player in one of the most brutal rugby leagues in the world.
And his brother's his coach, right?
And his brother is his coach. So Ben Gerard, who's a monster in his own right, is basically like here's all of my competitive knowledge of CrossFit combined with Ricky's like killer mindset from rugby and his ability to just be like, well, and that was another thing. I was talking to the Australians after the games, by the way. All the Aussies went out and just got fucking shit-faced on Sunday night. They're like, fuck the after party, we're getting fucked up. Anyway, so I was talking to the Aussies the next day and they were like, yeah, man, Ricky came to the games as a professional. This is his job. He's here to do work. And so that's a different mindset than a lot of people go. Like, I was talking to Frykowski, had the same mindset. He's like, this is it. Like, I've been training for this. I'm here to do work. My ability to perform is what I've been training for, and I'm going to go perform. A lot of people show up to the games and they're like, oh, it's so nice to be here. I'm just so excited to compete.
Do they have to say it like that?
Yes.
Yes.
And so when they have moments where something slips, it's like, oh, well, I've already kind of won. I'm here. Ricky was like, I'm here to compete, and I think I can make podium, and I'm here to do the work to do that.
How old is he, by the way?
I have no fucking idea. How old is he, Chase? 25, 26? He has a flat face from ramming it into people's body.
Mostly.
Like, he is a beast, dude. He was such a poised competitor for his
23.
rookie year. 23.
Ooh,
wow.
So he has
Ricky
a couple more years of
Garrard-
improvement.
Ricky Garrard might be someone who can push
Who would
Matt
challenge
Frazier in the
Matt.
next couple
I'm
years.
just looking at who is the upcoming guy to maybe, just young up and comer to push Matt Frazier off. He
And that's
seems to
what it
have that
takes.
capacity.
That's one thing that you touched on, Cliff, is that you're 100% right on. Rich Froning was almost toppled by Matt Frazier because Matt Frazier was like a 24-year-old who wanted nothing more than to win the fucking CrossFit Games. And so he did everything in his power he could. And like, yes, he was kind of like, oh, I'm in school, and so I can only train, a little bit. But he was still in that situation where he could prioritize it. And now that he is, again, only prioritizing his capacity to train and win, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take someone who's like very talented, very good, very committed, and can like forsake every other responsibility in their life in order to train to beat Matt. Because you know that Matt Frazier is like sitting down right now. He is sitting down in his gym between sets, and he's looking at his performance from the past 3 years, and he's like, someone could have caught me there, someone could have caught me there. I felt like shit during this workout. Here's why I felt like shit, and here's how I'm going to fix it. And it's like, oh, okay, like another fucking 10 months of you getting better at whatever the fuck it was you're bad at. He's going to come back, there's going to be a banger event, and he's going to finish first. Like, okay.
All sledgehammer all day.
Yeah, he's bought a sledgehammer, and he's bought like the official firefighter version of the banger.
He did talk about that in an interview once, that after the pig event 2 years ago, which the year that he did not win, he bought a pig and he put it in his gym, and he flipped it every day.
And it was every Sunday night after the gym was closed. He would go to the gym and he would flip it. And he got up to, he like started low, just doing like not on the minute, but doing like, just doing like very slow volume. He got up to doing 100 or 150 flips for time.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he did the same thing with rowing, by the way. Did we talk about this?
Maybe not.
2013 regionals, which was Matt's first regionals. He almost qualified for the CrossFit Games in 2013. Matt's first regionals, 2013 regionals, the first event was Jackie. He got off the rower like 15 seconds behind everybody else, but he got 5th in that event. In Jackie, but he got off the rower like 15 seconds behind everybody else, so he was pissed about that. Regionals weekends end, he buys a rower, and every day for the next year he rowed 5,000 meters in intervals. Every fucking day, just like, you know what, I'm never gonna sit on this rower again and worry about my ability to do well. The moment someone else can do that, they can fucking try and compete against this guy.
This is true.
Until then, you kind of are fucked. You know what I mean?
I wish I approached anything like that. I'm just pretty much okay with not being great at pretty much everything I attempt.
I literally cannot.
I mean, I'm not good at most all things, and I'm bad at a significant portion of those.
I can't focus for more than like 20 minutes at a time.
No, definitely not.
It takes a lot of meth for me to sit here this long talking about one topic.
Well, it's because you need more supplements. That'll really help your focus.
That's
Some
what I'm missing.
Exogenous ketones. Those will really
Those things.
dial yourself in.
That's what I've been missing my entire life.
Yes, that's right. That'll give you.
Exogenous ketones.
That'll get you that competitive edge.
Have we talked enough about CrossFit? It's been like an hour.
It was the
This
CrossFit
is the long.
Games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see Annie back on the podium.
Dude!
again.
Oh,
yeah, it was
yeah.
nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing. Fucking Chase, by the
Yeah.
way.
What's up?
Fucking
Yeah.
We talked about how Chase came into the CrossFit Games as like a man who had no respect for Rich Froning because Matt Frazier was the man when Chase started CrossFit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Did you doubt Annie?
Chase didn't even know who the fuck she was. He was like, she's some fucking washed up champion from years and years ago. And I was like, how dare you?
You were talking
got
about the
exaggerated
princess of
so much.
CrossFit.
Iceland Annie, who's
Iceland
no longer
Annie.
called Iceland Annie because
Because
now
there's
there's
too many.
other.
Now everyone knows how to
Icelandics.
pronounce her
The
name.
daughters.
Iceland Annie.
She
who-
is the legend.
She's CrossFit's sweetheart.
My mother's favorite CrossFitter as well. She's just my mother.
Obviously.
Like my mother just will watch every time she competes, and she's like, I love her so
Her
much.
smile is so pretty.
Or she's that's exactly what she said. She goes as soon as she finished an event, as soon as she finishes an event, and she smiles. My mom like will always call it out. She's like, "There's that smile.
Oh my
There it
God.
is.
There's the smile."
Yeah, and Chase
Yeah.
Long is just shitting all over it.
Oh my God.
He's like that washed up former champion.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I said
She's the
verbatim.
fucking
It's like,
beast.
man, I can't believe that old lady got third place.
Put it on my tombstone.
Who is significantly younger than us?
All of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was she? How old was she in Carson her first year? She was like
at the ranch.
like 20.
Her first year.
Oh, no,
She was-
20.
She was
Sorry,
19.
yeah, she was 19. Yeah.
So
She's
only
27.
And she
26
would
or
have, and
27.
if she could have done it, and if she can, if
She's
she
27 years
yes.
old.
But if
Jesus
she could
Christ.
have done a muscle up, she would have won the
the
CrossFit
CrossFit
Games
Games,
that year. You know, so she would have been a champion all the way back then.
Right. As someone who had been CrossFitting for 2.5 months.
Yeah, exactly,
She
yeah.
literally, there's stories of her. So Sunday morning of the games in 2009, they started off with this AMRAP of like, that's right. The CrossFit Games had an AMRAP event in 2009. It was handstand push-ups, kettlebell swings, and GHD sit-ups. And they had to teach her how to kick up on the parallettes and do handstand push-ups there. And by the way, everyone did them strict because no one could kick back then.
Yeah.
And then the following event was a run right max snatch, which she had never snatched before.
Yeah.
And Coach Bergner is standing there in the warm-up area teaching her how to snatch before she goes out to snatch at the CrossFit Games. Just wrap your brain around in 10 years how far the fucking CrossFit Games gone to someone almost winning who had never touched a barbell before.
Yes.
Cheryl Bogart.
Yeah.
I heard Annie.
Yes. Our
we go.
mother watches
Thanks,
this
Mom.
show. That's great. But yeah, no. That year she made it to the muscle up event. Of course, could not do a muscle up. But had she done a muscle up, literally, had she completed that final event, the only thing that stopped her from winning that year was just a DNF on that event, and there was during a period where you were penalized for not finishing events by just like getting knocked out of something. I forget what it was. What exactly?
I don't remember.
They were
That
making
sort
up
of
the
thing.
rules.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
went.
yeah. And then the next year she finished second to Kristen Clover the first year in Carson, and then she won the following year after that.
11
so
and
she's
12
just
she won.
there was just a period, and that's the weird thing to remember is that like until she injured her back, she felt like she was going to be on a front. She never won by those kind of margins, but it was like, well, no one can beat Annie Thorstoder at CrossFit. That doesn't. Those people don't exist.
Right. She was like
And
the
then-
chosen one.
She was the chosen one, exactly, in the same way that Froning was. And then she injured her back. She was out a year. She came back. She had a weirder finish the next year. She tapped out that year because she was feeling sick. And so it was just like, and now it's good to see that healthy again and only 27 years old. She's just like, all right, I'm back on the podium again.
It's like just entering the prime of her competitive career.
Exactly.
Like the prime of her genetic athleticism is just starting
Yes.
now.
Val Voberl will be turning 39.
Yeah, turned 39 during the games.
Oh, yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun stuff that happened. I'm trying to think of other things. Bethany Brandon was doing really well for the first half of the games, and then just kind of couldn't hang with some of the more sort of deep down Metcon-y workouts.
Yeah, but for a rookie, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it'll be
Did you
interesting to
think-
see what she does.
Like Sager and Wells's performance, where they ended up at the end of the weekend, do you think that's surprising? Some people wanted us to hit on Brooke and get our thoughts on that.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Is that like Nate
Surprised
Diaz
about
right
what?
there? I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I thought that Brooke Wells's performance. I thought that Cole Sager's performance last year was much more about his competitors than it was about him. The thing about Cole is he's able to put the blinders on, right? So every event he goes out there and he doesn't really care how the previous event went or what the next event is. He was just like, all right, here's my event. I'm going to do everything I can here to win, and then I'm going to do what I can. And then he ended up in 5th place, which is really good. But so much of that is like he has the capacity and the ability to stay in it across the entire week. Whereas by the end of the weekend, a lot of people are like, fuck, I want to go home. I'm tired of this. This isn't where I want to be. There's another full day of this. There's 4 more events. People are just getting caught up in that where Cole Sager isn't. And that's a huge advantage. I think this year...
You could totally tell that on some of the... On the last day, on some of like when the Heat 4s were coming in, it looked like a lot of guys who were just like... Let's finish this out. You know, just like 100%. All right, another CrossFit workout, huh? Okay, and just walking through it. I mean, honestly, like even I feel like you kind of even saw that with Bridges and a couple other people who were in that Heat 4 there at the end. They were just sort of going through the motions.
He won a 4.
He won. Yeah,
well, sorry, that's what I meant. The bottom Heat.
Well, just think about what Sunday was like. So they had just done they had done 10 events in the previous 4 days or 3 days. And they had crushed every part of their body imaginable.
Yes.
They walk in on Sunday. Sunday morning is running. It really is just running intervals. The burpees and the sandbags were just an annoyance to like force you to run faster while you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Then they come in and it's like you have to do 75 overhead squats at 155 pounds, but you have to stop and do giant ass rope climbs and ski erg every 2 minutes. And then the last event is like this horrific Diane combination with overhead lunges. People are fucking sick of it. They're over it by the time. And so it takes, you have to train the mentality to be in it by the end of the weekend, right? And that's one thing that Cole Sager does so well. So his capacity allows him to just focus on one thing at a time, worry about that event, don't worry about what's coming up next, don't worry about what's already happened.
It seems like a lot of that also is Ben Bergeron is super into like the whole mental training aspect of it, and like giving people inspirational talks and telling them to focus and yada yada yada. And so you can kind of see that that's an important part of that. And like even Katrin, I think when Katrin had that late win on one of the events, or she immediately came out and said something to the effect of, Ben just told me to think about just this event and, you know, focusing on winning and working as hard as I could and all that stuff.
Yeah, so. Katrin, I wasn't surprised that Katrin didn't win. I always thought her margin of victory was so small that any little thing that goes against her is gonna give someone else a points advantage. But Katrin was able to keep her mentality where it needed to be. And I think the same thing can be said about Cole and Brooke. I just thought that their performances that put them so high over the past couple years were a lot more about how their competitors were doing versus how they were doing. They were good, but they were never truly great. And it just takes it takes 1 or 2 events to go against you, and then with such small margins of error, you're just down the leaderboard. And then what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that that Brooke Wells isn't a good CrossFitter. It doesn't mean that Cole Sager isn't a good CrossFitter. It's just that, like, the things that they aren't necessarily able to, like, crush at, the 1 rep max snatch, for example, Katrin's muscle-ups, Brooke's muscle-ups, you know, those things aren't something that you can just, like adrenaline your way through on game day. And as everyone else is improving, it's going to punish you more and more that you don't have that.
They need to have their Matt Frazier moments.
They need to have their Matt Frazier moments.
They need to go and say, I'm going to keep snatching this bar until I don't need to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Or just get a sick curl bar if you're Katrin and just be like, I'm going to work on all these pulling muscles with my easy curl bar and get just super jacked.
What was Matt's? Someone interviewed Matt after one of the events and was like, "How do you make sure that, you know, you're not leaving any weaknesses?" And he goes,
work them until they're not weaknesses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he says I'd like to know. I believe I liked when he dropped the F-bomb and he just said, well, I just do the motions until I'm fucking good at them, or do the movements until I'm fucking good at them.
Yeah. And he's like, I do them until I'm fucking good at that shit. That's what like his. It's like, he just.
And he just like jogs away. From
it's like, oh right, that's right. You just do thousands of reps until you're no longer bad at this. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so I don't know. What else happened at the games? Did I miss anything? Congratulations to the Wasatch Brutes, by the way.
Blat, blat.
Yeah, Chase called that.
Yeah, sick ass. That one guy who used to be on Ute.
Three of them.
Three of them are on Ute. The white guy.
Adrian is the team captain.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
not white. Brennan Fjord is the white guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, he was
And
on, but he
then
was on Ute as well.
Mandy Janowitz
Yeah.
is also on Ute.
I'm just saying that I'm leading to something here, which is I remember watching him on Instagram. I believe it was him doing like 405 lunges.
No, that was the other guy.
Oh, was the other guy from Ute?
Yeah,
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, that guy wasn't on this team.
No. Yeah, but
Whose name is anybody?
something.
No.
I
Put
don't
that
know.
in
You've
editing.
met him.
Whatever. Yeah.
Who are we talking about? Mitch? Were we talking about the other guy?
No, on the old Ute team.
Nah, don't know that dude.
Anyway.
Is he like a Thor's daughter? Like
No.
he doesn't matter.
No.
Whatever. Brutal. Brutal.
You just no history.
Unbelievable.
Just waltzes in here, tries to carpet bag his way.
I'm gonna cut that bun off.
That'll quickly become a war of attrition if we start cutting off each other's buns. Just retribution and
Where do you go?
It's gonna
from
be like
there?
the scene in Last Samurai. He's gonna be like kneeling as I'm like fucking just cutting his top knot off of him. Tom Cruise is gonna come and like cuddle you and move you around into the back, and then he's gonna come with a sword and kill me with it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that'd be pretty
it's
cool.
gonna be sick. Can we move on?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I feel like we're gonna spend the next.
I'm
several-
Pickle Rick.
And Jaguar, my new favorite
Jaguar,
character
yes.
of all time, who I'm modeling myself after in life.
Well, I thought there was just to touch on that real quick before we circle around to Pickle Rick. It was like Cliff came out of that episode so excited about. I really want to model myself after Jaguar, like long hair and a jacket. Just like you essentially like aesthetically are that guy. So I don't understand where the
I'm not there
aspirational
yet. Well,
thing.
one, I need abs.
Yeah, I
Two,
guess.
I need to
He
be able
was
to do
a
a full
cartoon.
splits.
Yeah,
I need to be able to do the full
Yeah.
splits.
Uh-huh.
And I think I just need to go to the shooting range.
Yeah, but for those of you, for the uninitiated, what we're talking about is the fact that this week was not just a new episode of Rick and Morty, but like a classic.
Yeah.
Just it was amazing. It was brilliant. It was a masterpiece. One of the best episodes yet of the show, and that's really saying something. Pickle Rick, and Pickle Rick was extraordinary.
I will be honest with you.
Yeah.
I never understood the fascination with Pickle Rick. Like during the trail, like in the
Oh, the
trailers,
build-up.
the
Yeah,
build
yeah,
up to it.
yeah.
They did this whole thing
one
about
knew,
like,
yeah.
Pickle Rick, and everyone fucking latched onto it. Like, and I thought to myself, that's fucking stupid. He turned himself to a pickle. What the fuck is the point
then
of that?
became was the jumping off point for the entire
the
episode.
entire episode is that's fucking stupid.
Why
did he turn
I
himself into a pickle?
I love that they take time for like a 3-minute explanation at the beginning. We're just like, why don't I? It's just like the first part of a magic. I don't do magic, Morty. I do science. It's just, but why would someone turn themselves into a pickle? Well, first of all, no one would because they can't, and if you could, which you can't, you would because you can, which you can't. And then it's like, and I was like, kind of on board. It's like, all right, this is already very funny. And then when they pan, and then it's like, well, why is there a syringe hanging over you to scissors and a timer and the whole thing? And as soon as like that became a thing, and I don't know, but just intercutting between that just amazing action film of Pickle Rick just going through the process of fighting his way back to the house and murdering all the rats and doing all that shit. Just going with that and intercutting that with the amazing therapy session with Susan Sarandon, sort of psychoanalyzing all of the of the whole house and everything, and then how it all beautifully comes together in the end. I just it was just extraordinary. I watched it a couple times already.
I think it's definitely one of the best written episodes of Rick and Morty. It just balances out so well, and that last monologue at the end, Susan Sarandon's monologue at the end, is really, really powerful stuff. It's great. It's really solid, and also the little action tropes that they kind of touch on, Pickle Rick gets shot and he's like, oh shit, and he goes around the corner and
a sandwich.
He has a sandwich. He opens, grabs
pickle
mustard, he
glues it to
puts
him.
mustard, and then he puts a pickle off the sandwich on it, and then staples the pickle to his pickle body.
I love that the
as Jaguar is doing the same thing,
doing the same thing, but like gunpowder, doing like the classic Rambo move of the gunpowder sealing a wound.
There's so many. I love there was even. I just love that the Rick's persona as he fought his way through everything, which is like he had so many wonderful just asshole one-liners throughout the whole thing that were just gorgeous.
They killed themselves.
It's like when he first decapitates the rat. It was just like, oh, was this your friend? Don't worry, he died doing what he loved, being a dumb fucking rat. and then I love it.
I'm not gonna name you.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. It's like I want to let you know that despite your all of your distinguishing characteristics, I'm not going to give you a name like Scar or Goliath. You're not significant to me. You were only significant to rats, and they're dead. And then he just kills him, walks under the pipe. He goes, "Oh, I fucking love myself."
God.
Pickle Rick episode is one of the best episodes.
It was fantastic. It was so fucking fantastic. I'm gonna go home and watch it yet again.
Yeah, I kind of have to. Yeah,
it's definitely worth multiple viewings.
Yeah, just the whole and so I mean, obviously, I think a lot of attention will be given to just the whole Pickle Rick thread, which is obviously very, very, it's like full of action and one-liners. It's like a mini action film in itself with some really amazing action in it. But what I really liked was, I mean, there's the therapy session, which were with the mom and Summer and Morty, was just also wonderful in that it was just a hilarious, entertaining little psychoanalysis of the dynamic within that house and the terrible relationship that Morty has with his daughter, that Rick has with his daughter, and then how that eventually folds into him returning finally. And I don't know, it was wonderful. And then additionally, the therapy session had the eating poop through line.
Yes. It's amazing that in order to make something that's really uber serious the whole way through, how do you add comedy to this? How do you spice this up? You really only need the one thing. Just occasionally mentions eating poop, and now it's fine. Now it's a comedy therapy session.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's it. Even though everything she said was super deep and super meaningful and serious, just add in,
"Hello, Sanchez family. How long have you been eating poop?" We've never eaten poop.
Oh.
Me neither.
Where's my family?
Oh, and I love this. I love the tease that you kind of get on the second time, where it's just like where it's just like there's the poster on the wall, and the first comment when Morty cuts to the waiting room is Morty's looking at the poster and he says, "What's courageous about eating a hot dog?" And then she goes in, and then it turns around, and she turns it around, and then it's like the family therapy side instead,
And then he's going through the book, and he's like, "Oh my God, this book is full of people eating poop." And she takes it and just puts it under her chair.
Just like calmly sets it down.
So there's also kind of that one moment with Jaguar where he's like, I don't even care about my access to multiple universes means I don't have any attachments to any of my daughters. And Jaguar's about to jump out there. And Elgham's like, do I have more daughters?
Do I have infinite daughters?
Do I have
infinite daughters?
Nope, just me. Sorry. That's good.
And also just the little cap at the end of the episode. Not this time, Concerto.
Oh yes, the post-credit stinger. That was fantastic.
Which itself was an awesome idea. I'd like to see that episode.
That adventure, however they got into that predicament.
Oh, it's so perfect. Yeah. And I love that was one of the pre-title things, which you never know again. That's the first time I think one of the pre-title things has come back as a post-credit stinger, which is pretty sweet. Yeah. And it's just, oh man, I hope that Jaguar starts to come back like Bird Person in later things, because now that Bird Person is dead.
It's Bird Phoenix.
Bird Phoenix. Bird Phoenix versus Jaguar is the thing I want to see.
That's definitely going to happen.
That would be sweet.
That's the thing that's going to happen.
Yeah,
the introduction of Jaguar, by the way, was fantastic. And jumping and freeze frames into the old 80s action cartoon.
Yeah. Oh man.
Fantastic. All right. Now
Sweet.
onto what we must talk about.
What must we talk about?
The Game of the Thrones.
Oh, right. That actually,
there was another episode this week, guys.
Yeah, there was another episode, and I can say, definite step up.
Massive step up.
Massive step up. Not necessarily a massive step up in storytelling, but certainly was a kick-ass episode to watch, because holy shit. It's like we're at that point now where they're like, that thing that you kind of hoped you'd see from season 1, where it's like her with an army of Dothraki riding dragons. It's like, here you go, cats. It's cash-in time.
This was probably one of the most satisfying episodes of Game of Thrones I've ever seen.
And the thing that I love about the whole dragon deal, we're just going to cut straight to the dragon battle.
Obviously, nothing else happened in the episode.
I have to say, I have to shit on it just a little bit there. I've been waiting this whole time for Arya to come back home to Winterfell and reunite with her, blah, blah, blah. And they weren't even trying with those scenes. It's like she shows up, Tweedledee, Tweedledum, turn her away. It's not even enough of a thing for her to struggle a little bit to get in there or anything like that. It's like either just have Sansa meet her at the gate, hey, or have an actual struggle. Instead, it's like these guys kind of don't want her to come in for a second and then sit here. And then she goes away, and then
they needed to fill some space.
Yeah, they needed to fill
oh
some
my
space.
god, this episode's only 40 minutes long.
Well, that's the funny thing is that like you can see there the seeds there of like it would be funny if she shows up, but like no one believes that she's Arya Stark, and that becomes a thing, and then eventually, so there's the seed there, the intention of like making that an actual complication, making it interesting. It's the kind of seed that could bear fruit into an actually interesting sequence where say she gets arrested or turned away or she kills someone. And therefore then all of a sudden the soldiers of Winterfell are deployed to go and chase her down or something, and then it was never written or they didn't quite know how to do it, and then it eventually became edited down to a scene that does nothing but just delay the inevitability of them meeting, and
you
you're
get
like,
a bunch of cockneyed guys saying fuck off.
Yes, we like to use the F word on occasion.
Fuck off, governor.
Exactly.
I did before we get to the dragons, because I know you want to get to the dragons. I've spent a lot of time on planes and a lot of time bored, and I have the entire series on my iBooks, so I've started reading it again, and I found it really interesting. I've never watched the first 4 seasons of the show because I just read the books and I was like, I'll just pick up where everyone else is, and I started watching it. So I don't know what types of things they've changed in the early.
Oh wait,
parts of the
you
show.
literally haven't watched the first 5 seasons of the show?
No.
Really?
Why would I?
I don't know, Roman, because
it's
why not watch
No,
it?
the first 4 seasons I haven't watched.
Okay.
I watched
Really?
5, 6, and now I started 7. Yeah.
That's weird.
What?
I've read the books. I know everything that's gonna happen.
but I've
still.
also read the books, and I've seen all of the episodes.
No. I don't like old TV. It's boring. It's like the production's shitty and it just looks boring. I don't want to watch it.
Pretty
Anyway,
good.
Anyway, no.
It's
Fuck that.
pretty
Anyway,
good.
you guys
Yeah.
are missing the point. The point is that
It's a
in
good
the
show.
books,
Like,
something
you
that
missed the
confused
heyday
me,
of
you
the
can
show.
yeah, whatever. Who gives a shit? I can watch seasons 2 and 3 again later, where the good stuff happens. So,
The first season's pretty darned good.
all right, fine, whatever, guys. Fuck, I'll watch them. Okay,
Watch
you
the
guys are
fucking
missing
thing
the
is what
point.
we're saying.
My point is,
Yes.
during
go.
this episode, Littlefinger gives Bran the knife that was supposed to kill him.
Yes.
And when Bran asks him, "Do you know who this belongs to?" he says no, but he knows because it was his knife. It was his knife the whole thing that.
Do you want the whole explanation?
Yeah, like why is he is lying to. In the show they didn't change that, right?
Well, no, in the show they fucking like excise half of that.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's stupid. And I think it's just like for economy of space, at the
Okay.
time
I
or
don't
whatever.
think that was his knife.
But
in
yeah,
the show.
so
and I've not
really?
read it,
No,
so-
he does state that it was his knife in the
okay.
show. Because
Okay.
the important thing about the knife that they keep in the show that works is that Littlefinger says, yes, it was mine until I lost it in a wager to Tyrion Lannister.
Exactly.
Which leads to Tyrion being arrested.
Exactly.
Which leads to more
All of the
and,
shenanigans, yeah.
However, it's in the books, it's heavily implied yet never stated that yes, the knife was lost. It was no longer Littlefinger's, but it was in the armory of someone very rich. Who is that rich person? It was King Robert. Who paid the Catspaw to go kill Bran? It was Joffrey.
Right.
And they never stated in the show, but it's heavily implied in the books when Joffrey gets his Valyrian steel sword. They're like, ooh, you have this Valyrian steel sword. Isn't that cool? He's like, I'm familiar with it. And then Tyrion has an internal monologue where he's like, motherfucker.
This motherfucker.
Like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's heavily implied it was Joffrey that paid off the guy to do the thing so he could impress his dad, his fake dad.
Cool.
Dragons. You
Dragons.
guys. That scene
Yeah.
was fucking
Well, I have to say,
awesome.
yeah, I have to say that scene that sequence was pretty goddamn impressive, and I don't mean impressive just by this. The early battles in the show. The one thing I can say about some of the earlier seasons, I'm not sure exactly where you picked up, but some of their big battles in the early season, that they would hype up prior to it, like it's the Battle of Blackwater. It's about just looked like TV. They were just like cutting to people on tiny sets and then cutting to big wides that were done in CGI, and there's no connection between the two things whatsoever, that are all just big CGI vistas, you know, felt very small, very TV. And then that all changed with like the hard home battle with the
which was fucking awesome.
yeah, and that was the first like fully
Yeah.
cinematically realized battle, where there's not like cutting to people on tiny sets and cutting back to big ridiculous CGI wides that have no connection to it. It was like an actually cinematically executed battle that felt visceral and real, where you're moving through it and all
and then
that.
they changed the game with the Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of the Bastards was
Fucking
fantastic again.
awesome.
And this was yet another pretty amazing step forward, in that this felt it was, you know, wonderful visual storytelling, much better than Dunkirk, which sucked.
I didn't see it.
But an actual visual story being told. Take that, fucking Christopher Nolan. That's how you tell a story, with pictures.
The what's-his-head semi-anonymous guy who directed this episode of Game of Thrones is a better visual storyteller than you, Christopher Nolan.
Fun
son
fact
of a
about this
bitch.
guy: this is his first episode of Game of Thrones he directed, and he's most famous for directing a bunch of episodes of It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He was
So
American.
there
I
it
noticed
is.
that in the special
Yeah.
features. But here was one thing that was amazing: is how much effective practical effects were integrated seamlessly with the digital stuff. There's that one shot where you're above the dragon.
Yeah.
That shot where you're above the dragon, looking down as the fire gets rained down on all the people who are fleeing, it was pretty extraordinary. It was just, it was a kind of awe-inspiring thing. And then if you watch the special features, you realize, oh, they really did blow up like a whole road's worth of shit while shooting from a cable cam above it, and then added the dragon in between.
That's so cool.
Which is pretty amazing. And then, this is my favorite part, is one of my favorite moments, is like there's a moment where when the dragon first like comes and breaks through the line, where like you see this shot, and I literally said it out loud, but like Kara, my girlfriend, was so nervous the whole time, she actually put her hand over my mouth. But I said, like, I think they did like 20 full body burns there, because you just see like all these guys running on fire at the same time, and like a body burn's like a hard thing, like it's a dangerous thing to pull off, and it seemed like there were like 20 guys on fire. So I said out loud, like, I think there were like 20 full body burns in that shot, and she covered my mouth. And then we watched the special features afterwards, and they spent like 5 minutes talking about, we decided to do the most full body burns of any shot ever in movies.
Ever in movies?
And literally they set 20 guys on 20 stuntmen fully on fire. And that was the shot.
The overhead one.
Yeah, the overhead shot. You see all of them burning, and and the thing is, it fucking works. It's amazing. You really can. You like in the middle of the episode, in all of that action, you see it with such clarity. That's the shot right there. You see with such, once it's filled in with the background and everything, you see with such clarity like 20 real dudes on fucking fire staggering around.
That's
and
incredible.
So if you were to ask ahead of time, okay, what are you going to do as a big thing when a dragon finally gets into battle for the first time in this whole show? What are you going to do? The biggest body burn stunt in the history of cinema.
That's right.
It's history of cinema. It's just a long history of body burns.
Yes. And that was pretty extraordinary. But it was still full of all the usual dumb stuff now that doesn't quite make sense, like Daenerys deciding to land in the middle of an active battle and just stand there on the ground, and all sorts of other stuff. It was just like, it was just the same bullshit. But up until that point, and the fucking Dothraki like actually doing cool shit, you know, like thus far they've just been eyeliner, but now it's just like an addition to eyeliner, like them.
They also murder,
but the
real
sweet ass horse stunts where they're like standing on their horses,
and the battle cry. We heard that battle cry from Dothraki. I don't think
so. Yeah. So one thing I do want to say on the body burn here as well, I think it's mentioned in the special features or whatever. But not only are they all on fire, they're all holding their breath, because if they were to breathe in, it would scorch their airways.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's all body burns.
Yeah, that's all body
but
burns.
But like, just think about that. Just being on fire, like actually on fire, and you have to hold your breath. And if someone knocks into you and you accidentally take a breath, you're fucking done.
Well, that's the thing, is like that's why it's one of the many reasons why body burns are such a difficult stunt to pull off, and why they don't do them very much anymore, and they get replaced by CGI, is because it is a dangerous thing to pull off, and it's hard. And they did 20 of them at the same time, which is pretty sweet.
Not one of those guys took a breath.
Yeah, and that's why if you watch, they actually show the raw footage, and like when you're doing a body burn, you have to have someone who's counting it down so because you can only burn for like 10 seconds. That's why it's often in slow motion. But it's like, and then you can hear a guy like 10, 9, 8, 7, and when it gets to 0, go, 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 and they rush in and they extinguish. But they had to rush in and extinguish 20 on fire guys at the exact same time.
Oh my god,
so it's pretty sweet.
That
pretty fucking insane.
The moment, like I got. I don't remember the last time I was watching anything.
Hold on. You see one guy they missed. The one guy who's supposed to be on fire, who's not on fire. You'll see it in the overhead. You'll see him on the bottom left.
And he's just going,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
no.
look,
Oh, yeah.
That guy
I'm
thinks
not
he's on fire maybe and should be on fire but isn't. Damn
You
it.
guys, I'm not on fire. I'm not going to get paid for this. Like you just hear the director, you're not getting paid for this, Keith. Fuck you.
Oh no.
That's really funny now. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I was watching anything. Maybe when when episode 7 just first started, and I was like, "This is a Star Wars movie," where like something like fucking took my breath away.
Yeah.
But that moment where she breaks through the clouds on the dragon and just like starts coming towards them, I was like, oh god, yes, yes, my entire life has been worth it for this moment.
But like that was just so fucking good, and then you had no idea how good it was going to get.
Right.
However, one thing I like that really bugged me was like so Tyrion, he's on the cliff or whatever, and the Dothraki guy is standing next to him. He's like, your people can't fight. I'm like, you fucking try fighting a dragon, you piece
seriously.
of shit.
Yeah, you guys gave the fuck up instead of fighting a dragon, you jackass.
Do you remember when they had that big line of spears that like was gutting your fucking horses, and then the only reason you got through was because you have a fucking dragon? Like, fuck you,
it's
man.
about time she used that nuke, though. She's been sitting on that thing for a long ass time.
Yeah.
Another thing, by the way, the gif of Tyrion saying "you fucking idiot" is going to be used for the rest of my life.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to use that for the rest of my life.
That's great.
But one thing that, so again, I'm rereading the books. I'm not super far into it, but you start picking up details that you didn't necessarily think about beforehand. And one thing that I picked up on was when Bran first falls, he falls into a coma, and during the coma is the first time he meets the Three-Eyed Raven. And the Three-Eyed Raven tells him to fly, like learn how to fly. And during that process of learning how to fly, he goes and he sees, he sees his father in the Red Keep being the Hand. He sees he sees shadows around him. He sees his mother. He sees shadows around his family. And then he goes east or west. He goes to the Shadowlands of Asai. And he sees dragons. So there are other fucking dragons in the book, like legit alive, existing, doing shit. There are other dragons around, and I'm wondering whether that's something that they're just gonna drop off out of the movies, out of the series, because there's no reason to bring them in. But that creates a lot of potential, because there's stuff I remember from the later books, that people are trying to find ways of controlling dragons, or that they're talking about there being other dragons out there, and that aspect of it to me was really fascinating. There's just kind of like a throwaway real early in the first book, and I was like, wait a second, that's a big fucking deal, because everyone is constantly talking about how there are no dragons, and then there's only these 3 dragons.
One of my favorite little memes from the last week or so was someone showing a picture of Bran and saying Bran is your shitty little cousin who just discovered weed.
Someone posted this and I really fucking love it. Bran is your shitty little cousin who first just discovered that he can be high at your family reunion because he ate edibles and he can't smell it, and he thinks no one noticed.
The best version of that, though, to me, was they had Bran, and then they had the choose your response from a video game, like RPGs, where you get to pick your response, like which one's good, which one's evil, and then it was the first one was good, explain who you are and what the Three-Eyed Raven is, and it's neutral, I've seen that you've been through a lot of hardships, and I feel for you. And then it's evil or chaotic or just whatever, creepy. And it was I watched you get raped, and it must have sucked. Why did you choose to say that? That was the wrong thing to say.
That was
saying I watched you get raped is the worst fucking thing you can tell someone. That makes no fucking sense.
Not only that, but you were beautiful.
Creepy guy. There's also a moment in this episode where you could just see it on Sansa's face. She's like, I'm normal still.
Yeah.
It's like Bran came back a fucking like
weird.
farseer.
Yes.
And Arya came back a
assassin.
goddamn
So
assassin.
my favorite was actually, it's like, yeah, later on she's very much like, what the fuck is going on here, like during the Brienne fight or whatever. But prior to that, when they're all like near the tree, and like she's like, Bran sees visions now.
Yeah,
like,
her like explanation.
God damn it, I have to explain this to everyone.
He sees things.
Bran sees shit now. I don't know.
I don't know.
He's gonna talk weird.
Arya, at least you came back normal.
I also don't
At least you're
understand.
cool.
Yeah, how is there any confusion in explaining that shit when they're fucking dragons? If you can just accept the fact that there are dragons in the world, I think if someone told you like, yeah, I can kind of disassociate my spirit from my body and see the past.
Yeah,
Or you know that there aren't dragons now, but people already take that shit seriously now.
Well, the thing is just like we have
the Earth is flat.
What I just love the Daenerys. That's right. But I'd love the Daenerys thing of when she's told that they're white. She's like, White Walkers, ridiculous. Let me get on my dragon. Like, all right.
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah.
That's so fucking good. That and also the whole like, I've got something to show you, and it's not my dick.
Oh yeah,
It's like-
Oh,
it's like-
I was just
But soon enough, it will be.
That entire scene,
I
by the way,
literally
was
said that out loud.
garbage.
Yeah.
As soon as like, I have something I want to show you. I had my dick, and then you can keep doing it the whole scene. It's like, there's one more thing down here. My dick.
Look a little further. It's my dick.
And then as soon as they left the cave, I was once my girlfriend was completely sick and tired of it. As soon as they left the cave, I was like, he got her pregnant. He got her so pregnant.
The whole like one more thing and just like keep like let's make more like geographically confusing left turns in this cave.
I would love to do a parody version where it turns out like he is trying to show her his dick in there the whole time, but she just keeps accidentally seeing cave paintings. I have something to show you, and then she's like, cave paintings, right? Cave paintings. And it's like, but in this other darker chamber, let's have something else. And he's pulling out his dick, and she's like, dragon glass, right? Dragon glass.
Like, oh god, is it really that black? I mean, yeah, dragon glass. I swear it's not frostbitten. Yeah, and then she
So brittle.
again, one of those things where things just have to move so quickly. Considering we're more than halfway through this season, and there's only 3 episodes left. Things have to move so fucking quickly. She went from like, fuck you and your White Walkers to like, oh my god, these cave paintings. There must have been White Walkers.
It's like
bend the knee and suck my dick.
It was the Game of Thrones ancient fantasy world equivalent of him like just Google imaging searching White Walkers to say no. It's like those aren't real. Wait, hold on a second. See,
it's real.
Yeah. I thought they didn't have a good meet cute, man. I would have expected Jon Snow and his aunt to have a better meet cute. Well, we have 3 episodes to wrap up the War of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah.
So, and then the entirety of next season will just be like White Walkers.
Yeah. Well, I loved watching the wrap up also to that episode because one of the 2 creator guys was just like, you know, they're trying to negotiate all of these things so they can end up on the same side. Plus, they're dealing with this new complication of them being so attracted to each other.
Like,
and I'm like, really? Was that there?
which part of their interactions make them so
Did you think that just
attracted to each
putting
other?
them in a cave would do that? Is that...
Well, and like that's the fucking thing. Like I was telling this to Cliff. Like every time there's those like after the episode things that just like roll afterwards, like even if it's an episode I like, I'm still like, oh fuck you guys. Like it like plummets my interest in everything. Where it's like, and then
well, no,
so
previously the guys have talked. David Benoff and DB Weiss, I think that's how their names are.
Those are their names.
Previously they talked before and sounded kind of dumb, but since the show was good at one point a while ago, you'd assume that there must be something there beyond their words. But now that they're out of book to adapt, and it's all them, they've written every single one of these episodes, sole writing credit between these guys on these episodes right now off this rough outline. It's like, no, they were just kind of dumb the whole time.
Yeah.
There was one moment in this episode where I felt like it was Game of Thrones from like 2 seasons ago. And that was when They're on the beach again. Just fucking, let's just rush through all this setup. And it's like Theon comes back.
Thank God John's on the beach already to meet him.
Happens to fucking be there. Yeah. It's like, oh man, we need to have Jon and Theon meet. Like, well, why don't they just meet at Dragonstone? Well, Theon just got like he just was a pussy. Like, oh, fuck it, whatever. Just have a boat. Show up and throw him
but
on there.
that was the second draft. The first draft was Jon was just standing on the beach, and then Theon just.
The only reason why I don't kill you right now is because what you did for Sansa.
And by the way, what's up there?
It hurts.
Giant seagulls.
The eagles are coming.
Giant seagulls, bullshit. Those don't exist.
Those don't exist.
Let's go in this cave here. We got some paintings of giant seagulls.
There's something I must show you in this cave.
1 second. Let me finish drawing this giant seagull.
I do actually really want the version of that where Jon Snow's in there just like carving it real quick.
By the way, see, that would be something much more akin to the original Game of Thrones. Like if he had to the book Game of Thrones, he would have shown her into the cave, shown her all of those cave drawings or whatever, and she would have been like, "Oh, I guess there really are White Walkers." And then she would have left, and then like he would have turned to the Onion Knight, and he was like, "She bought it. She assumed that those are like that's actually like you give something, you imbue something with some sort of mystical significance, only to then immediately undercut it."
You don't understand. At this point, Jon Snow is just the misunderstood prophet king.
Yes, exactly.
And he must continue being the misunderstood prophet king.
I knew there was a reason they introduced Carvey McCarverson just the last episode there.
Right.
He's the guy who's good at carving things in rocks.
Exactly.
Oh God. Okay. The natural extension of the my dick thing is like, yeah, it's like, all right, here's all the dragon glass. Now look at these cool carvings and White Walkers and my dick.
It's just like Jon Snow with a huge log carved into.
What's that?
I am the prince who was promised.
What's that you ask? It's the prophecy about the brooding prince with black curly hair and a big old dick. You didn't hear that prophecy? It's an ancient. Oh well, it's a very ancient prophecy.
Look how big that dick is. They're children of the forest dancing on it. What I was gonna say, the moment that actually felt like it could have come from a couple seasons ago, which was like something that felt actually satisfying to at least a small degree, was when Daenerys asked Jon for his opinion on what she should do at that moment, and I was like, oh, this makes a little bit of sense. Like, this is probably how they would make some sort of relationship that's built on trust and mutual respect.
And like, them achieving their goals.
And
not standing in caves.
Each other. Right. Not just standing in caves, like mildly talking about his dick. Yeah. Anyway.
I have something to show you.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, I think that's about a good time to wrap up. We've been going for fucking ever now.
A long time.
And it's been a very good show, I think.
It's been fantastic. We should always go this long.
I kind of agree, except my from talking so
sucking
much.
dicks.
I'm Dickle Rick. Anyway, so your social medias.
I am at Mr. Kyle Bogart on the best goddamn Instagram account on the internet.
I'm at Cliff Bogart on an okay Instagram account.
I'm at a Supersonic Man on Instagram, Twitter, etc. And I host Hot Tag. Coming up next.
Yeah.
And I am at Armin Hoist. Folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Scales Needed. And we will catch you next week.